God is going to hold every single one of you accountable for the loss of the lives of his children. All of you who are in these positions of authority, all of you who are in the schools, all of you who made the laws and enforced it, he is going to hold you accountable for every single life of his innocent children. As you know, there have been a lot of school shootings back to back almost every day, every other day. You're hearing that there's school shootings. All these children's lives are being lost. They're being destroyed. Children are being murdered in schools. They're being destroyed, and God is not happy about it. He's hurting. He's crying out because the loss of lives of his innocent children, the children who are the greatest in his kingdom. It says in the Bible, the children are the greatest in his kingdom. And these kids, they're with him. They're going with God. They didn't lose their souls. They're with him. But he had a purpose for these children. He had a purpose for them to fulfill here on this earth. And that purpose was not allowed to be fulfilled because the enemy came in and taken the lives of these children. And this is the thing. We have people who want to run their own agenda, people who will not heed unto God. They harden their hearts. They don't want to listen. They're filled with their own pride. They're filled with their own knowledge. They get their degrees. They go to school. They get their education from man, and they think that they know everything, but they do not rely on the wisdom of God. And this is why there's so much destruction. When you move God out of the schools, when you say there's no prayer in the schools, you make the school now the enemy's territory in his ground where he can now come in and do what he wants to do. When you move God out and you push him out, but you allow everything in to come in that is of Satan, that is of the devil, that is of this world, when you're allowing homosexuality and lesbianism and pride to come into the schools, you're showing spells, showing children movies. When my children in school, they saw movies about Harry Potter. This stuff is being introduced in schools. You have yoga, like I said, yoga, when you're actually, this is a religion because it comes from Hinduism and they worship other gods. This is not God. These are idols. When you're doing this stuff, you're worshiping idols. So when you have all of this going on, you have all this negativity, all this depravity, you have people who are coming literally to school and they don't submit themselves unto God's jurisdiction or authority. They're operating out of the Antichrist spirit that is of the world. They're operating out of the spirit of Satan. Whether you know it or not, when you allow your body to surrender unto the world, unto secularism, and you're not following under God's principles, you are now being controlled by Satan himself. And I've talked about this before, and people keep crying and they're wondering why children are dying. It's not going to stop. You think that you can put an officer in the school? You think giving teachers the rights to carry handguns is going to stop anything? No, all it's going to cause is more destruction. Now you're going to have teachers shooting children and killing them. You're going to have teachers destroying them. You have teachers already now. A lot of them are molesting children in these schools and abusing them. A lot of times they have teachers who do not know how to submit to God. They don't know how to control the students. They don't know how to deal with certain students who have certain behavioral problems or certain disabilities. So what do? They get upset because the parents are not being involved, and a lot of them have resorted to sorcery to try and control the minds of the children. Yes, I know this, and God has shown me this, and it backfires because when you go messing with something that God created, you go doing what you want to do and playing God and messing with a part of a brain that you're not supposed to be messing with, things happen, and it's backfiring. When you have a policy in the schools, a policy that says there's no bullying or harassment, but you don't abide by that policy because you feel that certain kids are difficult, and you want to ignore when these kids are being mistreated. You don't say anything about the bullying. You don't say anything about the teasing. You don't say anything about the harassment. A lot of these children are vulnerable emotionally, and a lot of this ground has started because you're allowing them to be antagonized in the schools because you don't want to help them. And this is because you're operating out of the Antichrist spirit, because the Antichrist spirit wants to destroy God's children. It wants to destroy the innocent and vulnerable children. And so you have children who are being abused and picked on in school. There are policies, but things are not being enforced to stop the bullying. You're not doing anything about the children who are bullying these kids, and you're letting them be bullied. You're letting them be teased. You're letting them be mistreated. And so now the enemy comes in and uses these kids. Some of them come in and they shoot up the schools. Some of them come in, they come back when they become adults and destroy the schools. This is all stuff that's being manifested on the grounds because Satan wants this to happen. You are setting up the grounds when you're not submitting unto God. If you submit into his wisdom, he can tell you how to deal with the kids. He can tell you how to deal with children. When you have one principle, one textbook rule, and you think that every child can abide by that, every child learns differently. Every child, it thrives differently. Not every child is the same, but you have this one blueprint, one guideline, one shoe fits all for all of your children. You want to control things the way you want. You're not doing things in a way where God can show you how to help his children, how to help them learn, what type of education to teach them. And this is what happens when you remove God out of the way. Because knowledge from man cannot go over the wisdom of God. You can have knowledge from man, you can have your education, but you still will not have the wisdom. All you can go by is that little textbook. When you're confronted with situations that you were not taught in that textbook, you don't know what to do because you're not operating out of his wisdom. When you have God, when you submit yourself to God and you allow him into school, when you allow his Holy Spirit to take precedence, this stuff will not happen. And this is why the schools have been a destruction. This is why they're grounds for destruction for the children, because this is what the devil wants. And people have put God out of the schools. You say pray every time there's a school shooting, there's a tragedy. Why can't you pray beforehand? Why don't you go inside the classrooms and start praying? There should be teachers who are able to pray for the students' safety every single day. There should be quoting the Bible scriptures. I remember when I used to go to Christian schools, we did that. But you want it out of the public schools. There have been parents who fought for the rights that their children don't have to have religion in class. So this is what you get. Now the kids are being shot up and you're scared. And you don't want your children to go to school. And every day you're fearing for your life. And it's not going to stop because you'll push God out of everything. When man thinks they know more than God who created them, and you don't want to abide by his submission, his authority, and his laws, chaos ensues. This is what happens, calamity and destruction. And God is upset because his children are being destroyed. His children are being destroyed because men and women wanted to follow their own laws and their own ways and be rebellious and will not submit and hearken to him. They have their own formula and their own blueprint instead of following his guidelines and obeying his laws. And this is why the world is in the state that it's in right now. And it's not going to stop. Innocent children are being destroyed. It will not stop until the church comes together and starts praying, until you all come together, that the Holy Spirit has liberty to flow freely throughout the nation. When you subdue the Holy Spirit, guess what? Now Satan's power can come over and he can destroy everything in his sight, because that's what he wants to do anyway. He got you to kick out he got you to kick him out. Take prayer out of the schools. Oh, don't mention anything about religion. Don't talk about religion in schools. But yeah, it's okay to watch a Harry Potter movie and teach kids how to do magic and bring magic tricks. Oh, he makes you think it's something innocent. It'll start off as something innocent. But now you get everybody doing sorcery. And guess what? Now this is what's happening. Children are being ruined. Children are being mistreated and harassed and destroyed. The enemy is destroying the children, because he does not want God's will to be fulfilled through these children. And this is what he wants. You fell right for it, because you want to submit to your own way. You don't want to hearken unto God's commands. You want to create your own laws. You want to go against everything that's in the Bible. You want to go against everything that God stands for. You want to go against all of his principles. And this is what is happening every day. Our children are being destroyed every single day. And it's not going to get better.